pissing me off. Okay, wait. All right. Well. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to be live on Instagram today, it looks like. We're having some technical difficulties with my app that broadcasts over to YouTube and Facebook. So I'll go ahead and post this video when we're finished so that everybody has a opportunity to participate, to see. And you know, this is a really good time to get some coaching, so chime in, ask your questions, let me know that you're here. And it's kind of cool. I can focus on just the Instagram and I can see your comments, because typically I'm not looking. I'm looking at the other camera. So this will be a nice little different thing to do. So welcome in, everybody. And today's topic is really important. Of course, I think they're all important, but this one has just been kind of in my sphere for a while. And I feel like it's the basis for a lot of our issues, a lot of our defeatist kind of things. And it's going from self-criticism to self-compassion. Self-compassion is underrated. Self-criticism is overrated. And it's kind of socially acceptable, more so to be self-deprecating than to show extreme love for yourself. We see this in comedy, we see this play out in movies, we see this play out all over the place. So I think it's time for us to flip the switch on this and really tap into, learn how to have compassion for ourselves, learn how to give ourselves compassion, because you're probably not going to get it elsewhere. And it is an inside job. You know, our happiness is an inside job. Nobody is going to do it for us. And it's actually nobody else's responsibility to do that. It's ours. So having this self-awareness and being really self-aware of that inner voice, that inner critic, and we all have it. We all have it. And to learn how to redirect that voice, redirect that inner critic, and transmute it into something that actually serves us and something that is better for us. And believe you me when I say your mind, your body, your spirit, they're all listening. They hear what your brain is saying and they respond accordingly. So we're manifesting all the time by this unit, you know, by the brain, by the mind. And so I love the mind. The mind is an amazing tool. It's an amazing thing that we possess, but it is a double-edged sword. It can be super duper useful and it can be very debilitating as well, depending on what thoughts we're playing and replaying in our minds, right? And how we're talking to ourselves. So today my goal is that all of us will become more aware of how we talk to ourselves, and starting today, maybe we can talk to ourselves with a little more kindness and a lot more compassion, a lot more of this, a lot more you got it girl kind of stuff, okay? So we all have that mind chatter, right? And that mind chatter, they're just glimpses of how we see ourselves through our own eyes and through the eyes of other people. So this mind chatter started somewhere, right? We didn't just all be born with negative thinking. This negative thinking or that criticism, that inner criticism comes from somewhere. And so we can trace it back a little bit, just so that we have awareness of how it gets in. But then the better part of this conversation is going to be how to transmute it and how to activate self-compassion on demand and call it in and use it on the daily. So I'm going to give you some really practical tips that you can use all day, every day. And here's why we need to do this. We need to go from self-criticism to self-compassion just to get ahead of all the stuff that's stacked against us, right? So this stuff can really annihilate our soul, annihilate our spirit, our own criticism. There's enough noise on the outside. And so it's really imperative for us to control the narrative on the inside, right? And if we don't, it can definitely lead to things like depression, addiction, procrastination, and self-loathing. This inner critic just really keeps us from experiencing our best lives. And as the life coach that I am, the intuitive and empath coach that I am, I want everybody to live their best life, including myself. So these are tools and tricks that I have picked up and experienced and experimented with by myself. So I went first, and now I'm sharing with you what I know to be true. So a lot of, the question is, where does this inner critic come from? I know that we're not born with it. The inner critic definitely stems from and sparks from childhood. That's an obvious one. We don't necessarily have to re-traumatize ourselves as to who said what when and be in that victim mode. We can just acknowledge that, hey, when you're born, stuff happens, and hurt people say hurtful things. That saying, hurt people. And we pick up criticism, we pick up name-calling, bullying, all kinds of stuff as kids and as we just continue to grow. And that's the majority where a lot of it comes. And then we start to believe these things about ourselves, and then we get hardwired in our thinking about them. And then they become kind of our reality, even though they're not our reality. They're our perceived reality. And we believe these things whether they're real or imagined, and they affect us whether they're real or imagined in really negative and kind of devastating ways. So knowing that we picked up some positive thinking too, but we're kind of focusing on the negative chatter, the critical chatter that comes from maybe our parents, maybe our schools, maybe the kids that we grew up with, relatives, society at large, and media for sure. So we're bombarded with information and different people's opinions and different people's energy, that OPE, other people's energy, all the time. And so especially for the empaths, we have a tendency to embody that and to sometimes believe it. And it takes us some work to unravel it and to free ourselves of those thoughts and beliefs. But that's the good part. We can, and I'll show you how. Another way that we develop that inner critic is what I see in my practice a lot, and that is this constant comparison of ourselves to other people, especially on social media. Now, I love social media and I use it for business, but you won't see me on here very much for my personal life. I like to keep my personal life kind of private, like a lot of you. I use social media for education. I use it for business, and I use it for just very specific things, but I am very mindful of limiting my social media so that I'm not comparing myself to these uber rock star rich lives that are illusions, right? But I know that a lot of people are affected by that, and they compare themselves, and they're not where they necessarily want to be, and they're looking at everybody on vacation and having the best life ever and all this stuff, and it's like, it's just not real, And so to limit that is going to be very helpful, and to realize that you have your own set of gifts, and you have your own journey and your own reasons for being here. And everybody does. Everybody has just a completely different journey from the other. So to compare yourself to somebody else is kind of insane, really. So if we can catch ourselves and redirect that and minimize, maybe shut down social media or the news or whatever information we're getting that is making us feel small and making the inner critic come out, catch ourselves and minimize it, right? But that is another way that the inner critic is developed. Another one is that it becomes a habit, and a lot of people just never learn how to love themselves. It hasn't been taught to them. They don't know. And I think we are born loving ourselves pretty well, but then, that gets kicked out of us. Then we have to relearn how to love ourselves and to be our biggest cheerleader and all of that. But it's a solo act, and there's not a whole lot of mentors out there to show us how to do that. And so it doesn't get done. And so now, though, there are so many great teachers and resources and podcasts and books that really speak to self-love and showing us how to get it done and how to tap into it and why it's so important. It's so important for our entire overall well-being. And I did mention that like self-deprecation is more socially acceptable than expressing self-love. Yeah, sarcasm, cynicism, all that stuff. It's really based in that inner critic, that voice. And it's like fingers on the chalkboard to me now, because I've trained myself to shut out that, and I have a visceral response to self-deprecation and criticism. I catch it really quickly, and I don't enjoy it if it's just around. But in coaching sessions, when it comes up, I am really quick to shine the spotlight on it and to point it out so that we could do some work right then and right there on that. So yeah, self-deprecation, it's just like, it's not funny. And I think we need to stop thinking that it's funny and honoring it and all of that. All right, so thank you guys for being here. I'm so happy that you're here. I see Phyllis, I see Kristen, I see Carlos. Hi. See, yay, I get to see just the one screen today because the other ones aren't working. So little silver lining, right? So I want to talk about one of my very favorite teachers at the time, and that is Dr. Daniel Amen. He's pretty amazing. So he's a psychiatrist and he studies brain disorders. He actually does brain scans, and he can visually see which part of your brain is needing some help, supplements, diet, all kinds of, you can take a snapshot of the brain and you can see where the deficits are and where the positives are. Pretty amazing stuff. And since he is a psychiatrist, he still sees patients. He has this acronym ANTS. So let's talk about ANTS. ANTS. So ANTS are automatic negative thoughts. Pretty simple. And the more we have them, the more hardwired our brains become. And so a lot of those automatic negative thoughts, we could trace them back, but I'm more into, let's fix this now, right? Let's help this now. Let's be in this moment and shift and empower ourselves with the ability to, yeah, the past happened, whatever, but we're here now, we're dealing with it now. Let's deal with it and do the best we can with tools that we have to change it, because we can't change the past. We can only change how we are now and what our responses are, right? So some of the common ANTs are, and you might want to chime in and let us know your common ANTs, because we all do have them. One of them is, I'm not good enough. How many of you have experienced that feeling? I have many times. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I was actually told I was not lovable when I was younger. Do you think that stuck with me for a while? You bet it did. Mark is here. Hi, Mark. Hi, my wonderful friend. I'm so happy to see you guys here. This is cool. I can actually see the comments. I don't have what it takes. That's another ANT. A lot of people have that. I don't have what it takes, so they don't even start, right? I'm a failure. So maybe they do start something and it fails, and then they stop because they're too fearful, and that inner critic stops them from going forward. Where, anybody who is good at anything knows that it's called failing forward, right? We just keep on getting better and better and better, but we're going to experience the negatives. It's just part of the whole process. And so when we can stop and analyze those thoughts that we do have, then we can change them. And Kristen says hers is, I'm too much. I'm too much. Can you elaborate on that? So I know that you are a very cerebral person. Maybe you think too much. Maybe you think too much. So add in there. And then, as the manifesting and law of attraction teacher that I am also, I love that. I will never stop teaching that. When I think of the inner critic, and I think of self-criticism, I think how that affects our ability to manifest, right? We're always manifesting. So Kristen says, I'm too complex or too much for other people to handle. Gotcha. So am I. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's true, Kristen, and that's okay. I want you to know that you are perfect just the way you are. Some people are going to relate to you and some people are not. I think that you are a very high functioning thinker. And so I don't think that everybody can hear what you say, and that's okay. So you'll develop discernment of where you can share and where you can not share, and that's perfectly okay. But you are perfect just where you are. You're amazing, and just know that law of attraction is always working. You're going to attract the people who can hear you and who can receive you just fine. So it's nothing you have to worry about. But back to the manifesting thing. Oh, okay. It's the other side of I'm not enough. It's basically that I can't be my most authentic self. And, honestly, Kristen, I really want to help you on this one. Being your most authentic self doesn't always mean that we have to be sharing what we know, right? Being our authentic self could just be our loving, kind self, quietly. And that's fine. And I find myself in that place quite a bit. And I have learned to really just embrace it and accept it. A lot of people don't want to talk about manifesting or helping themselves or improving their lives or developing their intuition. Trust me, they don't. And I know that. And so that, though, isn't necessarily my authentic self. That's what I am authentically interested in and passionate about, but I don't have to necessarily share that. So, but when I am with people, I can be my authentic self just by being loving and kind, open and receptive, right? So we can shift around and just decide which authentic parts and pieces we want to share with our audience based on how appropriate it feels, based on the alignment that we feel inside of our bodies when we're actually with other people. And Mark says, for me, and all you might relate, but in my type of work, I have to turn on to deliver expectations. Yes, you do have to turn on to deliver expectations. And you know what? I think that that's okay. So even when I'm doing this live cast, this live stream, I go through preparation. I write down notes. I do my research. I do all this. I am typically a quiet person. I live by myself. I don't talk to anybody all morning. And then all of a sudden at noon, now I have to talk. And now I have to be on. And I will even mentally say, it's showtime, so that I can prepare myself to deliver something of interest and something that is valuable to my clients. So, Mark, I think that that's okay, as long as we're not feeling like we're faking it, but maybe we do have to turn it up a bit, right? So I think we're okay there. So go ahead and turn on. I have to do it. And how I turn on too is I breathe, I meditate, I get ready. I don't think we're always just on the ready to give our best. I think we have to prepare ourselves, and that's perfectly appropriate. Okay, so when we are having these negative inner critic thoughts, we are basically killing any manifestation that we're trying to accomplish or receive or allow, because when we're manifesting, the universe isn't hearing our words about how I would love my business to be, exponential, blah, blah. What the universe is picking up is your feeling that, I'm a failure. Oh my God, I can't do this. I've never done this before. I don't have what it takes. Nobody's going to listen. So all that inner critic voice, all those words, that's the stuff that is drawing in the matching manifestations, right? So getting ahead of this, getting ahead of the self-criticism and the self-talk, this negative self-talk, is so imperative to the manifestation process when you are intentionally or even unintentionally manifesting. So being aware of what your brain is doing, the thoughts that you're having, is hugely important. All right, thanks guys for sharing. Hope I was helpful with your comments, but keep them coming. So let's talk about the good news. I talked enough about the bad news, right? Let's get into the solution. This is where I like to kind of stay in the solution. So first of all, you know, there's a saying, and I love it, and it's don't believe everything you think. Just don't believe everything you think. You don't know where that came from. That reminds me of Michael Bernard Beckwith over at Agape. He talks about this, and he says, you know, your thoughts are like that random piece of candy that you picked up off the floor when you were 4 years old, and you start to pop it in your mouth, and your mom slaps your hand. She goes, put that down. You don't know where that came from. Well, he likens that to our thoughts. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, where did that come from? You don't know where that came from. Why are you, defending it? Why are you repeating it without examining it? So we need to really examine our thoughts. And Dr. Amen, I remember the work, Byron, Katie. Or Katie Byron? I can't remember. But anyway, back in the day, she did the work. And when you have a thought, to analyze it, or maybe to just examine it and say, is this true? Is this true? Is this really true? Good question. Is it true? I don't know. Can we just admit we don't know a lot of stuff? Or that's not true for me anymore. I have grown out of that thought. That's not my reality anymore. And then the other question would be, who would I be without that thought? So if you have a thought running around your head, for example, that you are, let's say, fat, unlovable, and lazy. If you didn't have that thought, who would you be? You would be healthy, lovable, and productive, right? So we can switch this all around. We are not our thoughts. We can change them, transmute them, but first we have to pull them up and look at them and examine them and decide what we want to do with them. And for those of you who think that, you're just born a certain way and that's just the way it is, and your DNA and your genetics have just written the code, well, I can blow holes in that one right away and say, there's a relatively new science called epigenetics. It's been around for about 40, 50 years, maybe longer. And it translates to above the genes. Epi means above. We all know what genetics are. So above the genes. And Dr. Bruce Lipton is one of the pioneer scientists on this front. And he goes more into, the science of epigenetics in his book, Biology of Belief. And I'm going to put all of the people and the mentions in the notes below so that you can check it out on yourself. So he says, we are not victims, I'm quoting him, we are not victims of our genes, but masters of our fates, able to create lives overflowing with peace, happiness, and love. So you can think of your DNA as a genetic blueprint. It's just a blueprint. Some things are fixed, but most things are not. So say alcoholism or obesity or even, pick one, runs in your family, and so you have a genetic marker. So you have a predisposition to it. But unless you activate it, unless you drink the drink, you eat the muffin, you do the thing to activate it, it will remain dormant. So all of us can think of maybe having a cold sore. Not to be gross, but when we have cold sores, we obviously have the herpes virus, the herpes simplex virus in our bodies. It never goes away. it's mostly dormant. So those of us who get cold sores know how much we hate them. And so we do everything to prevent them. We reduce our stress, we stay out of direct sun, we use sunscreen, we don't eat peanuts or chocolate or whatever we do. But we did the research, we understand what provokes it, we understand what wakes it up, and we avoid that and do the opposite so that we can prevent that from happening, right? So it's in our best interest to practice prevention on our predispositions, that our predispositions don't own us. They're there, they're quiet, but we can control them. We can activate them or not. And that is the whole science of epigenetics, which makes us much more profoundly in control of our lives than blaming it on our genes and all of that. So get curious about your predispositions. What runs in your family? What do you see going on? Are we just going to think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get that too? Or are we going to say, not here. I'm going to go ahead and stop that buck right now. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to figure out how to get ahead of this. So you do have that control over that. So we can eliminate the whole I was born that way kind of thinking when it comes to, chronic diseases and lifestyle disease. All right. So, all right. Vanjie's here. Hey, Vanjie. Long time no see. Let's talk about practicing self-compassion. How do we practice self-compassion? Well, I'll tell you what, when you do practice self-compassion, you are literally rewiring your brains. You are creating new neural pathways in your brain that with time will override the old operating system. And so I call practicing self-compassion or all of the other tools that I do basically mind games. They are mind games. We get to play in our minds. This is where we get to leverage the brilliance of our freaking minds. They are brilliant. Double-edged sword, but I like to play on the side of the brilliance. So back in the day when I was in my early 20s, I discovered Louise Hay. I picked up her book, You Can Heal Your Life, on a sidewalk sale in Alameda, California for a dime. Changed my life. Really spoke to my soul for the first time. I had never heard language like the language that she used about overriding our genes, self-love, being in control of our own health and well-being. I just always thought that stuff was random and destined or whatever. And so, lucky me, in my early 20s, I stumbled upon Louise Hay, and she pretty much set the trajectory for my entire life and my life's work. So one of the things that she does for self-compassion and self-love that I started doing a long time ago is mirror work. And that mirror work is literally like in the morning, it's pre-paving your day, standing in the mirror, brushing your teeth, looking at your eyes, looking at yourself, acknowledging you, pause and say, good morning. Good morning, my love. Good morning, Charlene. I love you. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You got this day. This day is yours. You have so many gifts to share. Whatever those affirmative thoughts are, or those affirmations, or those that you can say to yourself to pre-pave your day in a positive way. Now, some people are not big fans of affirmations, but I am. Even though, because I know by experience how this worked for me. When I was in my early 20s and before that, I couldn't even look in a mirror. I was one of those people, if there was a mirror around or someone with a camera, I'm doing this. I can't look. So I had some severe self-esteem issues when I was younger, based in, family trauma, all that. And when I started doing the mirror work, the first day that I did it, I cried. I sobbed. It was really hard for me to do that, but I kept doing it, and I kept saying the affirmations, and I kept, even though maybe I didn't believe it, and maybe it felt a little bullshitty, after time, I started to do, and now I can do it so easily without a thought, without a cringe, without anything. So I think with the daily practice and just with a conscious effort, you can really change this stuff around. So Louise Hay does the eyes in the mirror, the positive affirmation verbally, and then also you can write them down on stickies and put the stickies all over your mirrors, and then every time you walk into the bathroom, you see them. Yay! And then you get reminded of your amazing brilliance and all the kind of things that you're starting to say to yourself to stop the momentum of the inner critic and that mean voice that just wants to keep you small, right? Another one of my recent favorite teachers is Mel Robbins. She's amazing. So she's more, I would say, mainstream and less spiritual, but amazing nonetheless. She rocks. And she has recently written and released a book called The High Five Habit. The High Five Habit. And it's a lot like Louise Hay's mirror work, except she does a very physical demonstrative action. So this is great for the experiential learners to just high five themselves after when they're brushing their teeth. So she takes a daily habit, just a daily mundane habit, and associates it with a new habit that is in the positive. So I think that that's a really quick, ingenious way of rewiring your brain. So brush, 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 and then high five. She's not a fan of the affirmations. She just does the high five. I do both. I'll high five and say, girl, you got this. You're amazing. Go get them. Whatever pops into my head at the time, right? And then Mel also makes this really cool point that when we raise our arms, like we're woohoo, we're in victory, we're like, yes, we fist bump, we high five, we're raising the arms. It literally raises our vibration. So if you try to say, woohoo, I'm depressed, it's not going to work. The vibration, the energy doesn't match with the physical thing, right? So I love how she incorporates the physical with the everyday, and that'll really bring it home for a lot of people. So here's one of my favorites, and I've just been doing this forever. I don't even remember oh yes, I do. Sonia Choquette. Sonia Choquette was one of my very first intuitive teachers. I still follow Sonia. She's amazing. Look her up. I'll put her links in the bio as well. So she does the hands on heart to check in with yourself and to really, go there. And it works for me so much because I'm an empath like a lot of you. And so I'm heart-centered. And I know that the heart is the seat of my soul and it feels so good. So I touch my heart and I'll say, and I'll breathe. It's such a calming, grounding thing to do. And it's the perfect opportunity to practice some self-compassion by saying the simple things like, I am safe, I am good, I am amazing, all of my needs are met, and then some, and I'm content with what is and eager for what's more. Oh man, my life is so blessed. The universe loves me. The universe has my back. What can't I do? Right? So the hand on heart I claim it. It's mine, and it was inspired by Sonia. And I want to say that there are, different modalities for different learning styles. So one size does not fit all. And so because your happiness and your self-compassion is your journey, your job, nobody else's, you get to decide what tools and techniques work for you based on who you are and how you learn. And you're going to know. So if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. If it feels like you're just BSing your way through it, don't do it. Do the things that feel good for you. So I'll give you some examples. Here comes the teacher. The visual learners, you're going to want to read the books that I'm going to link in in the notes. Read those books. Write those sticky notes. Journal. Journaling is going to be so good for the visual learners. So anything that incorporates the vision. The sticky notes are going to be awesome. So every time you see them, or put art on your walls, or affirmations everywhere. So when you see them, you're inspired. You can have, like an altar or flowers or some symbol that when you see it, it just reminds you of, oh yeah, I love myself. Self-love, self-compassion. This is awesome, right? And then the auditory learners, the ones who learn by hearing and speaking, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, guided meditations, speaking your affirmations is going to be really good for you. Speaking your mantras, having mantras, making up those mantras, and then even like taking sound baths, going to the bowls and just soaking up the frequencies and the sounds. That's a very profound way to show yourself self-compassion. And then with the experiential learners, like myself, I think I'm all of the above though, really. What about you? What kind of learner are you? The experiential or the hands-on are the doers. They just want to do. So do the high five, do the hands-on heart, do the EFT, the tapping. So moving your body. The experiential learners are the ones who have to do the physical activity. So maybe you're one and maybe you're all, but find out what fits best for you. And then another tip that I had to throw in there that isn't necessarily a it's proactive, but it's not it's just limiting your social media. Limit that stuff. If it starts to hurt, if it starts to, make that monkey mind start blah, 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 limit it, close it, walk away. Put that inner voice, that critic to bed. Make it to go take a time out. So that's one thing that I do too, that I didn't write down. When I hear that inner critic, I literally say, okay, all right, you need to go take a nap. And so I will put it to bed. Sometimes I will dissect it, but most of the time it's just one of the ants. It's a automatic negative thought that doesn't have any bearing in anywhere except habit. And so I'll just say, okay, you need to go. Time to take a nap. All right. I had something clever to say about ants, and I totally forgot. Oh well. If you want some clever stuff, information about ants, listen to Dr. Amen. It's his deal. All right. So, with this conscious practice, you can rewire your brain and go from self-criticism to self-compassion. It just starts with some awareness. That's it. And then having a couple of tools. And these tools are so practical and easy to do on the go. You don't have to sit on a mat and meditate for 18 hours. All you have to do is raise your hand. Just go, woo, or do the mirror work, or have the affirmations, have the visuals. Keep feeding your mind with loving information and surround yourself with people who lift you up. That's one of the best things you can possibly do. All right, guys, so I think that's all I have for this. Leave your comments and questions, and I'll get to them. If you have any, feel free. And then I want to shift into the big thing that's going on in my life right now, that I have put together for you all. So it's a place where you can actually put all of this into practice and do in a community, in a group, with support, ongoing support, 24/7, meditations and workshops. So today I'm officially opening my doors to Enchanted Empath Community. An Enchanted Empath community is for the sensitives and for the empaths who want to develop their intuitions, who want to learn how to do self-healing, energy healing, who want to learn how to manifest like gangbusters, and who just want to live their best lives. But they want to do it in a private place, in a secure place. It's not on Facebook. It's our own platform. Every week I'm going to be doing a workshop, and the workshops are organized by season. And so right now is the season of building intuition. So all the classes are going to be on intuition building. And then I'm going to have the Monday meditations. So every Monday morning at 9, we'll do a live meditation together. We can chat about it afterwards if you have time, or you can go. But that'll be like a 30-minute thing. And so these are going to be the regular things that we do. And then I have all kinds of seasonal surprises and challenges and all the things that I love to do, but I have done a lot of them, but it always felt so random, or had to charge so much money for one class. And it's like, no, let's just lower the price and just keep it concurrent so that we can all afford this and keep practicing constantly and consistently and just getting better and better and better without all the ups and downs of the big launches and all that online mumbo jumbo. So go over to www.enchantederempath.com. You're going to get a 7-day free trial. Check it out. See if you like it. We're going to do a big kickoff next full moon on the 20th, where we're going to do a meet and greet. I'm going to give away a reading. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So go over there and check it out, www.enchantederempath.com. And every Sunday we're going to talk about self-compassion, self-care, right? And this will just be a place for you to grow and to develop your abilities and your gifts on a regular basis. That is my dream for all of us, so that we can just get her done, basically, and be in communication and communion with like-spirited people, and this especially is for the empaths and the sensitives, who I believe are here to be the helpers and the healers of the world. So that's my thought, and I do believe it, and I'm sticking to it. All right, guys, so that's all I got today. Thanks for sharing your precious time with me. I'm out. Yeah, be kind to yourself and to each other. All right, and I will see you all next week, and hopefully I'll see you inside Enchanted Empath community. This is made with love and for you. So take care, everybody. See you soon.